Okay, so we're recording now, right? So just going to come in here and delete this so we can start brand new.
Okay.
So we're gonna hit create. Previously we were doing traffic ads, right? Now today we're going to do lead generation ads. And I'm gonna mute a couple of you guys. You can unmute yourselves if you want to ask questions, that's fine. So we're gonna click on lead generation. This is gonna give us a couple of other options today. So continue. So I'm going to call this, right? I'm going to name all of my ads, right? We'll call this class 12-7. So of course, remember, I have to click on my special ads category. And I'm going to click on housing. Come down here. I'm going to click on campaign budget optimization and just change that to whatever your budget's going to be. And then we're going to hit next. So I have to rename this ad, this part of the ad too, right? Remember, there's 3 parts of the ads, and we want to do this so we don't drive ourselves crazy later, because we are going to duplicate this. Class 12-7, what did I call this? 12-7-20. So okay. So now they're not, because of we're not running them at a website. We were previously running them at a website. So this one, the destination is different. It's going to just be a Facebook page. And so again, we're not going to be running at the continental United States. We are not running it at a custom audience because we're trying to build an audience, right? Trying to build a database here still. We are doing people that live in or have recently been in this location. We're going to keep that as well. And just for the purposes of this ad, we are going to come in here and we're going to do, Orlando area, right? Remember that special ads category has limited us to our 15, so we know we're good here. Again, we can't play with age, we cannot play with gender, but we do have detailed targeting, right? And remember, we have our little document here that has all our stuff here. And our detailed targeting is going to be in here, right? I have some other detailed targeting that we're going to use for this. And that is down here. And so this used to work pretty well where I can highlight this, copy it, and paste it right in. Sometimes, let's see if that still works. And it doesn't, right? So I'm going to have to type those all in manually.
How did you get there?
So this is the second page, right? Remember, this is who is seeing the ad, right? And so I'm just under detailed targeting. That's all I am. This is including people who match these preferences. And I'm pulling these preferences from a pre-made document that I already have. So I want to keep this as simple as possible for myself, right? Right, so that's the goal, keeping this as easy as I can so that when I come in and I'm ready to build my ad, that everything is ready to go, right? So we don't want to work on graphic design later or any of these other things later, right? So we're going to go with house hunting. Just going to type that in. I like the idea that people are hunting houses and that Facebook gives that to us. We're going to go mortgage calculator, mortgage loans, and pre-qualification. Mortgage loans, mortgage calculator, and pre-qualification lending. I'm going to just do these. With these 4, we have got an audience of 500,000. Okay, I like 500,000. 500,000 is going to work. What I'm even going to do is I'm going to copy that and I'm going to come in my thing here and I'm going to put that this has an audience of 500,000. Whoops. Okay. I'll just put it in here. 500,000 audience. Okay. And so we can narrow the audience, but we're not going to, right? I'm going to leave all of these here. So, because you could do it, anybody that's interested in these things, and we can narrow it further, and is also into, I don't know what, land lots or real estate. what happens is that 400,000 goes down, that 500,000 goes down to 400,000. And if I were to narrow further and put just anything else in here, a terraced house, that is going to go all the way down. But I don't want it to go down. I don't want to go this narrow. What I really want is a pretty broad audience. I'm going to let Facebook's algorithm do what it does with that 500,000, right? So from here, I'm going to leave the languages as is. Sometimes I'll change them depending on my mood, just because I only speak English. So I would change this to English. If you want to run only Spanish ads, you can change this to Spanish ads. I don't even know why Facebook gives this to us, but they do. They take away all these other things, but languages they keep. And so we're going to go to manual placements. Right, so I'm going to take off. I don't have Instagram paired to this account, but if it were me, if I did, I would have Instagram and I would be running it at these locations in Facebook. So remember, we're going to be running duplicated ads. And again, right, I'm not running stories because I don't have the graphic design built for this. This is a different aspect ratio here. And I would want to do this. I would want to build ads specifically for stories. But this by far is the most common place to run ads. This is catching up right now. If you're running videos, if you're going to run ads in stream, it better be a video. I wouldn't want to be running static images in an in-stream feed if you were just going to run it here. But Facebook does give you all of these options. As we do more classes, we'll talk about ways to build things just for stories and just for these things. But we're going to do just Facebook newsfeed. Again, I have Instagram paired to another Facebook account, so Facebook won't allow me to do that. Let me just make sure I have everything else I need on this page. Okay. Almost forgot. We're going to turn on dynamic creative. And when we come down here, the dynamic, okay, forgive me. So when I clicked on dynamic creative, it reset these placements, right? So I'm going to come back to placements, pull out Instagram, come off all these, click off everything else. And okay, so I'm good. Just going to run at the Facebook newsfeed. So, okay, let me just make sure. I'm just taking another quick look. So we are good. So when I click on dynamic creative, if you remember from last week, and before we get anywhere, we're going to do this again. Class 12, 7. Oh, yeah, something happened. Class 12, 7, 20. Okay, number logs up. Okay. So when I click on dynamic creative, it gives me all of these other fields, right? Facebook is going to run their own versions of all of these combinations of ads, and it's going to give me a bunch of cool tools and options to add as many of these as I want. Well, 5 of each, but there's 3, so that gives me 15 different fields that I can run in here, right? In addition to that, if I wanted to run multiple calls to action, I can, but I don't have, like, I can't type these in manually. I'm stuck with whatever they're offering here. So I'm just going to leave, we have enough variations of the ads anyway. So we're just going to leave it. I'm going to leave it at learn more. Excuse me. So, okay. But one of the things that lead generation is going to give us, in addition to all of these things here, is the option to ask them questions, because we're going to create a form in here now, right? And I'm going to call this RE questions. And I don't know, we'll call it 7 questions, right? And so now we got a bunch of other tools that we didn't have previously. So what it's going to do is it's going to ask me, do I want more volume or do I want a higher intent? And for us, we want a higher intent. Remember, we are not selling, this is not an e-commerce business we're running. We are not running consumer packaged goods. We're not selling t-shirts. We're not selling coaching programs or diet plans or workout fitness programs where we want to get volume in, and then, we want, because what this is, when I click on higher intent, what it just did was if you'll notice down here, it creates a review screen. So what's going to happen here is that it's going to put a screen in front of them saying, because they're going to put their info in, they're going to say, this information that you're putting in here, is this correct? Right? So for example, we're going to create some questions in here. And so part of that is, when they're done answering the questions that we make, we're going to do multiple choice. And I have all this built already, but we're going to get back to that in a second. But this is a really important screen here because we can ask them a bunch of other questions, right? For example, like I don't want their full name. I want their first name. Hang on. I want their first name and I want their last name. And I want that to be first. And then I also need their oh so important phone number. All right, I'm going to put the phone number above the email. This is the order that I like. You can, of course, change this to your liking. So, but it's going to trigger them because what we're going to do is we're going to ask them a bunch of questions. And then at the end of it all, Facebook is giving us the option through this here again, forgive me, through this, to give them a screen where they say, okay, so you told Facebook when you first signed up that your name was, Jenny Smith, and this was your phone number, and this is your email. Is this really the best way for the buyer, for the person to get in touch with you, who's building this for you, who built this whole lead form, So you just gone through all of this trouble to ask all these questions. Is this information correct? Okay. So one of the other things that, before we get into the questions here, I'm going to get back here. I know I'm jumping around, sorry. So it's going to give us this option to build this little lead form when they pop in at first, right? So one of the really good important things is it gives us the aspect ratios, right? So I'm going to come into Canva, right? You see why we have to talk about Canva a bunch of times before we even start building ads, because we go back to Canva so many times to build our super easy graphic design, right? So I come in here and I built in the sizes that I like. I basically put in the sizes that Facebook is telling me to give me these exact dimensions, right? I know that my photograph is already here, so I don't need to add photo. I just need some basic info in here, right? And so what this is going to look like is I'm going to come in here, I'm going to upload an image. I'm going to upload that image. And so when they come in, I'm making sure also that the contact information isn't below this here. It actually is at the bottom. But remember, I'm just putting this all together really quickly to get this right. I can even just come in here and delete that text and it would make no difference. So my face is not in the way. It's a picture of a super nice house, pool, all that. Here's my basic contact information. And so now I can also write a headline and then a little paragraph in here also. It's like an opening statement, if you would. So what I would suggest doing is I would suggest doing all of this in Word first, or some sort of a, what do you call it? Word processor for, like a document first, because once you complete this, Facebook doesn't let you access this again. So we can just say something like, I'm making this up. You can write whatever you want. Welcome. And then you can always see what it's going to look like for the borrower, right? You can see my contact info, my name, so to speak. My name, I have a long name. It's overflowing already. It doesn't fit great, but just welcome. Buying a home is easier than you think. Okay, so all of this is on one line. Maybe I'll put some punctuation in here. So, okay. So once we're here, we know that they're going to see this screen, and then we're going to build our questions, right? So we have this part down here, and now we are going to add questions. Facebook luckily makes this super simple. When I click in, what is my question? I already have those built. We can talk all day about what questions. Actually, if you guys want to unmute yourselves and talk a little bit, what kind of questions do you think you would want to ask a buyer? Everything else is a quick, easy copy paste, right? You guys can unmute yourselves and talk if you want. It's okay. In the future, we're going to turn this into more of a workshop where we share ideas and stuff. You guys can share your screen, show us what's working, what's not working so well. So here's one question. You have to click add to get it to be added to the list, right? So when do you want to buy a house? When do you want to buy a home, right? We're buying home, buyers buy homes, sellers sell houses, right? So when do you want to buy a home? ASAP, 1 to 3 months, 3+ months. That'll be the first question that we ask them. Okay, so we're going to add another question because we need more than one. These are some of the questions I've come up with. Of course, everybody can have a copy of this document. If you want to email me later, I'm happy to send you a copy of this document. It's also it's built onto the document we've been working on last couple of weeks, right? So yes, no. Once you hit enter, it just adds it in, right? So have you spoken to a lender? It's important, right? Because 65% of the marketplace is going to use a mortgage, so we definitely want to know if they're going to need one. Okay, next, do you need to sell a home? Which we already discussed is supposed to be a house, not a home. They're not selling a home, they're selling a house. Hang on here. So we asked the question again, do you need to sell a house? Yes, no. Okay, next question. How many bedrooms do you need? Trying to get an idea of where their head is at, right? And how do I phrase this? 3, 4, or 5+? 3, 4, 5+. Now, okay, a couple things. When I'm building these questions, first of all, I don't want the questions to be too long, and I want the answers to be quick and easy answers. Notice these are yes and no's, and nothing's more than 3 answers, really. I might have one more that has more than one. So okay, I'm trying to keep the words to less than 7 words. Quick, short, controlled bursts of questions. We don't want them to get too bored, and we don't want them to sit here for too long if we can avoid that, right? Because we don't want to experience what they refer to as bounce rate, or when they bounce off of this because they get bored or frustrated. So we're not going to make them type in anything. We're not going to make them type in the amount of money they want to spend on a house, which we could, because there's a way for them to put in short answers. We're going to avoid all of that. We have to keep this easy for them. So I'm going to play with this, and I'm going to ask one more question. Why do you want to buy this house? What are you planning to do with this house, right? And what do we say again, right? Quick copy paste. Primary, is it a second home? Or is it investment property? You already know a lot about them now if they can answer some of just these questions that we've gotten to so far, right? I have a few more. So what we're going to do is, again, we don't have all the time in the world in the class, but what you'll do is if you want a copy of this, I've got a few more questions. Are you a U.S. veteran? Is this your first time buying a house? Are you currently employed? Which we all know is super important. This is the longest question and answer part I'm doing. And so Facebook's not going to really let us ask this question. I've had them to reject my ads with this because we're not allowed to ask about their credit, right? Or at least Facebook is not going to let us. I'm leaving this here anyway because Facebook changes things a lot. And I'm going to see if I can get that approved. I want to see if I can get that answer approved for sure, right? So when we ask there's other questions we could be asking, but we don't want them to sit in this lead form too long. So we know they're a buyer because they're looking at houses. Are they actually a seller as well? Because if they're not, maybe they're renting. Have they spoken to a lender, which means they're not buying cash? How many bedrooms? You get an idea about that. You know about this because if they're buying as an investment property, they can't use 3.5 down. They got to use 20% down. Second home is 10% down. If they're a U.S. veteran, that a lot of people are struggling with down payment. If they're veterans, how much do they need to bring if they're a veteran for a down payment? Anybody know? The answer is 0. They don't need to bring anything.
0.
Zero. They're veterans. They get the best loan in the world. VA loans are the best. So we already know that down payment's not going to be a problem for veterans. I mean, they may need closing costs, but I mean, we're still half the way there if they don't need down payment, right? If this is the first time, you know, they're going to need guidance also. You know, they're going to need a lot more hand holding possibly, but this is where you and, you know, me as the lender, you as the realtor, we can really bring our value, especially if they're first time home buyers, right? And if they're employed, we need to know if they're employed, right? If they don't have a job, they can't buy a house, you know? Now they could be on disability or they could be retired, but I didn't want to put too many other answers in here. And then this one here, I mean, who knows? You know, so if we can get that approved, I'll substitute this with another answer, another question if I come to it. But what we're going to do is once we come back to Facebook, now that we have 5 questions, what we're going to do is we are going to set this up and basically be ready to run this, right? So, because what we're going to do is this, forgive me, we're going to run one with 5 questions, one with 7 questions, and one with 9 questions. And I want to see how much more info I can get. And remember, we're throwing spaghetti at the wall here. That's our big credo when it comes to the way we run Facebook ads. We throw handfuls of spaghetti at the wall to discover what works. And maybe the one with 9 questions just doesn't work nearly as well as the one with 5 questions. Maybe 7 does. Maybe 7 and 5 perform just about the same, but we want to get an idea about that. So there's more to the picture here, but we're going to get to that in a second too. So now Facebook is telling me if I had too many questions, it could impact my submission rate. So only ask for the questions you need. You can target to reach a more specific audience if that helps you qualify your leads. Thanks for nothing, Facebook. You took all those tools away anyway, right? So here we go. We're going to come in here. What we need to do is, this is a privacy policy, right? What you got to do is come into here. Here's your home page, right, for your KV Core page. You guys know how to get to that, right? So you come here, you click on that. You're in your home page here. You click on this. It brings you into that same page we were at. I come all the way down to the bottom. I click on privacy policy. I'm going to highlight all this to make sure I got my HTTPS. I do. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste that link right into here. So if you wanted to take all of this, just to make this super simple, and paste that into your Word document, I recommend that. Because it prevents you from having to go to KV Core. It saves a step, it saves time. We're setting up a bunch of these. Time is of the essence here, right? So we have that privacy policy is taken care of. If you want to just put something in the link text, you can. I don't know if it's optional enough. Privacy policy. There we go. You want to add a custom disclaimer? I don't know that it's necessary. And here's our review screen, right? Our super important review screen now. Is all of this information correct, right? We really, really need this, right? And then we come to completion. You can have write whatever you want in here. You're all set. Facebook put some easy stuff in here. If you want to add the link to this page, not the privacy policy page, but your home page at KV Core, make sure that is indeed okay. Got my HTTPS, copy, paste, and if they want to go shop houses right now, they can. Because remember, this ad is not running them at a website destination. It's getting their info, right? Getting them to answer some things. If I'm not mistaken, we forgot something. And I think it is, where is it? Is it an intro? Hang on. Maybe it's privacy, I think. It's one of these. I'm having a problem with this. Okay, let's see if publish works. And maybe I just don't see it here. I don't have a chance to see if I can find it. Okay, completion. Okay, let's just say we were going to change some things in here anyway. And let's see. Okay, right. So that's it. We have to let them know how we're going to use their info, how we're going to use their data, right? So just come over here again. I want to look at our privacy policy really quick. And what I'm basically going to talk about, I'm not really going to copy paste anything from in here, but I'm going to say something like, I forget how I phrased it in the last one, but we will only contact you about, so I got the keyboard propped up here, I can't type, about real estate. Promise. And here it is sitting right up there, publish. And now I got to be really sure, right? Because I can only add this once because Facebook's not going to let me really in to see it again. I can't adjust it. I can't edit this once it's here. Okay. So let's talk about something else. This is something else, that another form that I had built, right? For another ad that I'm running. And so I have one for 5.
Pues de cómo se mercadea en Facebook a lo de los casas.
Oh, I'm going to mute you guys. So basically, I only built 5. I actually called this 7, but I built that set. I was going to build 7 questions because I knew I had one for 5 already. So we want to run 3 different ads with 3 different amounts of questions, right? Specifically because, remember, we're trying to experiment with a bunch of things. We're going to add all this in. This is from an earlier class, right? And now we're going to add our images in here as well, which we have already done again as in an earlier class. We'll get to this in a second though. But remember what we're testing, right? We don't want to test too much. We want to only give Facebook a couple of different metrics that we're testing, so that when we get our results back, we know that we have some answers here, right? So the things that we're testing right now are audience. We're testing, right? We are testing our detailed targeting. We are testing graphic design, usually, right? That's what we did in our last class. We were testing audience and graphic design. But this time, we hopefully have some data about our graphic design that we're going to repeat some of that, and then we're going to basically want to test these. We want to test the detailed targeted audience, and we want to test our question forms. And we want to get an idea of which ones are going to be working better. I'll have more info on this on the next class. We'll go over the results from this ad because I haven't had a chance to finish it up yet. I had a busy end of the week last week. So this is important to really try to only test so much, because if we test graphic design and audience and questions, we're going to have to run like 27 different ads to get all of that data. I'm not saying we shouldn't be doing that. We probably should. But I'm trying to teach these classes in baby steps, if you would. So, okay, just hold on for a second. So Carmen, yes, the recordings are all on Facebook. Last class from Facebook is not there. Last Facebook ads class and last week's credit reports, I haven't had a chance to get up there, but it is on my list for today. I am still catching up right now. Just put a little note for myself here. So, and credit reports, okay. Sure thing. So I'm gonna put my name, I'm gonna put my address, sorry, my email address in here. If you guys want. That is correct. You can email me if you want a copy of this Word document here, all right? So, okay. If you guys want to unmute yourselves, you can ask questions. We're just talking about detailed targeting and these question forms, these lead forms, if you want.
Hi, this is Teresa. How may I help you?
Hi, Teresa. How you doing? You on the phone or you talking to us?
Sorry.
Okay. Anyway, guys, you guys want to ask questions about this? Because remember what we're going to do, remember what we did last week, right? I'm going to leave this here for now, come out of here, saying that we have a setup error, and I'm not sure what we're talking about just yet, or what they're talking about. That's it. Oh, we have a setup error because we didn't finish setting up the ad, right? And I'm just going to leave that there for now. So what we're going to do is, we're in our campaign, right? So here we have this highlighted. When I go highlighted, and then I know that this is what I was working on today, that this is checked here. When I come in here, I should find it right here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight that again, and we are going to duplicate that ad again twice. And now this is where we have to be really good and not drive ourselves crazy here, right? And we're going to come in here, and we're going to add in audience 1. I'm going to come in here edit the name of this one, audience 2, and come in here, audience 3. Okay. Oh, hang on, I'm sorry, I just noticed I made a mistake here. I sent that email address privately to somebody. And I put a comma instead of a period. So, okay. So that's my email address. If you guys want a copy of this document right here, you can just email me and I'm be happy to give this to you. Remember, it's like every week we do the class, I have to send you a new one of these because we're building on top of all of the older lessons. They're all in here as well. Okay, so everything I teach, the further you get into this, the more we are going to build onto this document here. Okay, so now I have 3. So look at it like this, right? I have 3 copies of this same ad, right? You guys with me so far, as far as this goes? So remember we're running 9 different versions of this ad to try to get the most out of it so we can throw spaghetti at the wall. So I have audience 1. Here's my audience 1, right? I'm going to click on this one. And now instead of being in the second tier of the ad, I'm going to come into the 3rd tier of the ad. And I'm now going to highlight this again, duplicate 2 more times. And I'm going to come back out here and audience 1. It adds these in here, but don't worry about those for now. So here's a copy of audience 1 and more copies of them, right? So we're going to come in here and we're going to call this, because we Q&A 1. We're going to run 3 different versions of that Q&A, right? Q&A 2. And then Q&A 3. And then we're going to do the same thing again. Whoop. Uh-oh. Hold on. I did it in the wrong screen. You see? Sorry. I did that all in the wrong screen. So I'm going to come in here and take this one and take this one. And we're going to delete those so we don't have too many. It can get pretty confusing for sure. So we're going to come in here again, right in the middle section, audience 1, going to come back over here now. And now that we have this one here, we're going to duplicate this one 2 times. I don't know why it kicks us back here, but it does. So maybe we need 1 more duplication, so we have that again. Audience 1, okay. And here it is too. Okay, maybe they're just not populating fast enough to my liking. Let's just delete this to keep this simple. And okay. Audience 1. And then, I see it kicked me back in the middle section here. Let's see if it works again. Q&A 1. Q&A 2. Q&A 3. All right, ignore the setup errors, no big deal, but here are the names of them. I'm going to come in here and rename them again. So by the time we're done with this, right, because we're going to come in here, right, we still have our 1 ad. We're going to come in here. We're going to have these duplicated. We're going to have 9 ads where we swap out, because we're going to come in here eventually, because we keep the audiences there. And then I'm going to change the audience here. I'll come in here, change the audience before I duplicate them. And I'm going to swap out for this audience here, right? First time home buyer, house hunting. Keeping house hunting always. First time home buyer. Luxury real estate. just to see how, if I can get something to work with luxury market. Maybe they want luxury, but they're gonna have to decrease a little bit. Starter home and swimming pool. Swimming pool. Okay, so now how many do we have? 440,000, right? I'm gonna come in here, add this here, 440,000. Okay, so now once I have this here, because this is my audience 2, I'm sorry, that'll just be audience 3, right? So I can click on that and I come in here and I will now duplicate this one twice. Here those are. And those are copy. And we can just leave the copy there because later we're going to change that, right? And then we go back to audience 2. We're going to come in here, edit that again. Because we'll just do, that was audience 3, and we'll do this one, it'll just be audience 2, keeping it easy. And we have these other ones here. So you guys can have a copy of all this again, obviously. And we will come in here, adjust the audience, duplicate again. And so when we do this, actually I was going to change, what I would do is I'm sorry, I'm confusing myself a little bit here. I'm just going to duplicate this once. I'm going to duplicate this one once because now I'll have 3. I want to have 3 of them in this screen, which will end up being 9 because I know they repeat. And then I want to have 9 on this screen eventually also. Okay. I know this is a lot. It's a lot to do it online. It's easier to do this all in person. But so at the end of the day, we're going to have 3 of these here and then 9 of them here because we're duplicating this original ad 3 times for the 3 audiences, and then the 3 again for the 3 questions per each audience. You guys have any questions on that so far? I know that was a little confusing there. Sorry about that. No? Don't want to ask any questions? That's okay. So let's get this set up the way we want it to look. No, that's not right. We want number 2. We're going to delete these 2 here because we know they're going to repeat again, right? And then, because we haven't duplicated these in here, right? Because we know that we changed this audience. So we're going to click here, come to the 3rd screen, and in here for audience 3, duplicate this one twice. Make sure our naming is correct. This is also right, audience 3. And our other one didn't pull over for some reason. We know we have this other audience 3. Oh, that's why it's not highlighted. Audience 3. Okay. Q and A3. Okay. Guys, have any questions so far about this? No? Okay. So let's say that we have, let's say that eventually we will set those up also for audience 2, right? So audience 2, we're going to rename these also to make them match these here too, right? This would then be audience 1, Q&A 1, give me Q&A 3. I like to try to keep this as tidy as possible. All right, this is Q&A 2, so it's audience 1, Q&A 2. I'm going to keep this as easy to read as possible, making sure I have all my spaces and everything, right? And then in here, audience 1, Q&A 1. Okay, so what I'll do is now that I have everything separated correctly, I'll have to come in here and then change my Q&A, but I haven't built that other Q&A because the class takes long enough as it is. Okay, so from here, we would just come into Q&A 1, which would basically be the one with the 5 questions. This one would be the one with 7 questions. This one would be the one with 9 questions. And you just got to go in there and rebuild all that and rebuild all those again. So then when you come in here, you're already here, and then you just basically, you fill all this out as well. That would get duplicated as well. You just change the bullet point from here to here. Okay. It seems like a lot, but once you do this a bunch of times, it's really not that hard. Okay, you guys have any questions so far? Have you guys been building graphic design for yourselves? I know that I just whipped this together really quickly over here, but some of the other ads, you know, if you make your own videos, which I really recommend, I think they perform a lot better than just like still images stuff. I'm using still images just because I'm just putting this together really quickly here for you guys, but okay, you guys can unmute yourselves and ask questions if you want. We're basically at the end of this lesson. This will be on YouTube where you can go back and look at it again. But yeah, guys, feel free to email me your just send me a quick email and I will reply to it with the Facebook ads. The Facebook ad document. Okay. Carmen, I got your email right here, but the rest of you guys, if you wouldn't mind, I will send those out today, guys. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Thanks, Carmen. Okay, guys. I will post next week's video, and I will try to post this class today on YouTube as well. So, okay, guys. Thank you very much. Spending some time with me here, guys. Remember, me and Lily would love to be your mortgage folks. So when you have anybody that wants to get qualified, we would love to be the ones that you go to. We close, 140 deals, I think, this year, and we can definitely close yours. So, all right, guys. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today. I appreciate it. See you next week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gracias.